So thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Tuli Amutenya. I'm a data analyst and I live in Namibia. I'm also a co-founder of NamibiaR. Today's session, we're very excited to, with our talks that are lined up, very exciting event indeed. And maybe just to explain to you the purpose of NamibiaR. R is a programming language that is used for statistical production and computing. It's also used for data science, data visualization, and reporting. The purpose of NamibiaR community is to bring people together, really, to have a community where we can share ideas, have a collaborative environment where we can have tutorials, learn from each other, and also showcase our work. And therefore, this really, it's a social community, and just to bring all of us together and share resources. As you will hear later on in the talks, the colleagues that are going to speak to you are going to tell you a lot of exciting news on how their journey, on how they started our community, and what really other exciting opportunities that you could do with a community such as this one we are launching today. I'm really excited that you are taking your time on Saturday to be with us. So we have 4 speakers lined up today. And with me, my colleague John Motiso is co-hosting. And the speakers will be introduced as we go in with our session. Without wasting any time, I want to introduce you to our keynote speaker for today. Her name is Dr. Heather Turner. She is a statistical consultant who works at University of Warwick at the Department of Statistics as an associate fellow. Heather is also done a lot of work in the community of R and our community and our foundation. She is going to tell us more about her journey. I don't want to spill more beans. And without wasting any time, please join me to give a warm virtual welcome to Dr. Heather Turner. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you very much. All right, I've got some slides to share, so let's get those up. All right, yeah, so as Julie just introduced, I'm based at the University of Warwick, which is in Coventry in the middle of England. And my current position is actually a research software engineering fellow, and I'll sort of come back to that a bit at the end of my talk. But my topic today is to give a sort of overview of R and the R community, which is obviously a large topic. So in terms of R, it's a very whistle-stop tour, just expanding a little bit on what Julie just said. So as she was saying, R's strength is really in the field of data science, data analysis, and you know, what can R do? Why do we love it so much? Well, the good thing about it is that it's able to deal with the whole workflow of a data analysis, starting with importing the data, whether that's from plain text files like CSV files, or proprietary formats from other statistical software that you might know of, like SAS or SPSS, databases like SQL or SQL, depending how you say it, or and it also has its own formats for saving data. So there's a lot of different ways we can get our data into R in the first place, and then a lot of tools for tidying and transforming on our data so that it's ready for analysis. Many of you are statisticians, data analysts, and I'm sure you'll know a lot of time is spent on this step. It can get quite involved of, you know, moving from the raw data to something that's ready for analysis. And R has many tools to help you with that. And then, of course, as I said, its strength is really in data analysis, and almost any sort of technique that you can imagine is likely to be implemented in R, because it was initially developed by statisticians, and so, you know, those have always been at the forefront of implementing their techniques in R and making sure that the methods they want to use are available. So we have all our exploratory data analysis techniques. So here we're visualizing correlations between different variables. We have a lot of tools for statistical modeling, whether that's sort of classical modeling or local smoothing, as we see in this picture here, Bayesian modeling, time series modeling, and so on. And then methods for handling more specialized types of data, such as networks or text data. So, as I say, sort of almost anything you can think of is likely to be available. And then once we've done our analysis, it also has a lot of tools for reporting, as Tuli also mentioned. So we might want to create dashboards or web apps, or we might want to create reports in HTML or PDF or Word or PowerPoint formats and so on. And it provides tools for what's called literate programming, so that you can weave together chunks of text and chunks of code and compile the document so that you end up with the output, and you can choose whether you want to show the code that you've used to generate the output, or whether you just want to end up with the text and the outputs such as plots and numbers and tables and so on in the actual report. So as I said, it takes you right through from your raw data to your final outputs that you present to your clients or publish in research articles and so on. So that's a very brief overview of what R can do, and then maybe some of the other speakers will show a little bit more. But for the rest of the time, I'm going to be focusing on the R community and yeah, helping you to sort of find out what's out there. So who uses R? Yeah, this isn't my most exciting slide. I was hoping to perhaps gather a few logos and things to make it more visually interesting. But you know, there's millions of people that use R, so it's almost sort of impossible to summarize. But it's used in all types of research institutes, in the top universities, such as the University of Oxford, as we've already heard. Yeah, research institutes such as CGIAR, the Agriculture Research Institute, environment agencies, and other research institutions. Big companies, whether that's tech companies like Google, Oracle, pharmaceutical companies like Pfizer and Roche, big media organizations such as the BBC or the New York Times, governments, national statistics agencies, the World Bank, the UN. So yeah, so it's used all over the place and across domains. So although it started very much in the sort of academic statistics world, it's spread to be used sort of almost anywhere where data is being analysed. On the other side, we have this developer community. So R is developed by a core team, and this photo is from a panel that included some of the members of that core team a couple of years ago. So they lead the development of R, but they're supported by a wider group of contributors, some of which are named on the R project web pages, but you know, there's a much bigger group that's support by reporting bugs, suggesting features, proposing patches, and so on. And then there's a wide group of package authors, because as you may know, there's sort of a base distribution of R, and then a wide ecosystem of thousands of packages that add on extra functionality. And there's different places they come from. There's sort of official repository, CRAN or CRAN, the bioconductor repository, which focuses on bioinformatics, and many people provide packages on GitHub that may only be on GitHub, so that sort of provides a wider resource. I'm on the board of the R Foundation, which is a not-for-profit organisation that supports the R project, and some of that is sort of financial support for CRAN and some of the R core members, but it also does some sort of outward-facing things. For example, it's publisher of the R Journal, an online journal for articles about R. And it also organises and endorses conferences, the main one being the Use R conference, which is a conference for users of R, as the name suggests. It's an annual conference, and in recent years, because of the pandemic, it's moved to being an online conference. So this year again, it's online. The fees are adjusted for the income level of the country. So for Namibia this year, the conference fees range between $14 and $29 US, depending whether you're a student. The highest price is for industry, and there's a sort of middle price for academics or government organizations. And there's a similar price for tutorials. So these are sort of normally, I think, 2 to 3 hour tutorials. And you can do 2 of those for between 12 and 22 US dollars, that should say, rather than USD. But if these prices are not affordable, you don't have any support for attending conferences and tutorials, then you can apply for a waiver. And there's details about that on the FAQ on the website. So I do encourage you to take a look. It would be great to see people from Namibia. The conference is very practical. It's about half people from academia, half people from outside academia. So you will see lots of use cases of R, lots of new methodologies, new packages, and some useful trainings on how to use R. So it's a great opportunity. The R Foundation also has set up the Forwards Task Force for underrepresented groups with the aim to increase participation of these groups. And we do all sorts of initiatives. And a couple of years ago, we had a project focusing on Southern Africa. And I came and did a little tour over a couple of weeks where I visited a number of Southern African countries and collaborated with local groups such as R-Ladies and the Eswatini R user group and the data science groups in Botswana to run events and workshops. You'll see from this little postcard we made for our fundraiser that we initially hoped to do 4 countries, and you might recognize in the left corner there the University of Namibia campus. So we did hope to visit Namibia, but that turned out to be a bit too ambitious, so we didn't make it. But we did set up some contacts, and that's the time I first got in contact with Tuli, and we were also able to support a couple of people to come to a package development workshop in Johannesburg at the SATAR Days conference. So we were quite pleased with how that went, and I think it helps to sort of spark things off a bit in this part of Africa. So what's the situation like at the moment in Africa? Well, here's a picture that I generated from data from the R Community Explorer dashboard, which you can find at the link there. So according to that, there's 29 R user groups or R-Ladies groups. That doesn't include Namibia, so we can at least +1 for that. And yeah, so on the map, it's pink for R-Ladies, blue for R user groups, and the sort of dark blue colour for the countries where they have both. So that gives you an idea. We can see on the left sort of how this compares to different regions of the world. So kind of a similar number to the number of groups across Asia, but a lot lower than the number of groups in Latin America. So perhaps, you know, still potential for some growth, but it's great to see the number of groups picking up. Another group that's worth knowing about is the R Consortium. And this is a business association set up to support R. So it was set up by the R Foundation again, but in partnership with a number of businesses, and it was originally 9 businesses, and that's grown to 17 businesses, including some of the founders, Microsoft and RStudio. And they fund a number of projects to support R and organise a number of working groups. One particular thing they do is provide support for our user groups. So if you haven't already, you can apply, and this is a live link, for support for your user group to have some financial support, which is particularly useful if you want to meet in person. And they also will set you up on Meetup, which is quite useful for organising RSVPs and advertising your R user group events. And I shouldn't pretend that, you know, Forwards or the R Consortium are the only people sort of encouraging groups in Africa. Of course, Africans themselves are, you know, driving it all. And one thing that happened a couple of years ago was establishing the Africa R network, and this is basically different leaders from our user groups coming together and trying to coordinate their work. They have themselves sort of established a number of our user groups, and they've actually sort of been the leader in organising Saturday conferences. So these are our conferences organised on a Saturday, and some of the other folk who have been involved in those. So I think I'm right in that there have been 6, possibly there have even been more across Africa. You can follow them in Twitter or find out more on their websites. I've sort of mentioned R-Ladies without really explaining what it is. So this is a worldwide organisation whose mission is to promote gender diversity in the R community. And they have local chapters similar to our user groups. There's also a remote chapter, and this is organised mainly on Slack. We have well, it hasn't been quite so active lately, but we have a reading group that reads articles about R and discusses them around, sort of aiming for once a month. Haven't quite managed that in recent times, but there has been another one this year, hopefully another one soon. And also organise chats on Slack or on Zoom, you know, particularly for people that are perhaps a bit isolated and don't have other people they know locally that use R. So you might be interested in that. They also provide a service to review abstracts if you're submitting an abstract to a conference, to encourage more gender minorities to participate and present at conferences. And there's a general Slack group that's anybody associated with R-Ladies, or even if they don't have a local R-Ladies chapter, you're still welcome to join up and join in with the R-Ladies community. And they have many channels, advertising events, providing help with R, and so on. So this is obviously aimed at women and gender minorities. There's a more general group called Minorities in R, And you might not consider yourself to be a minority, but I would suggest that sort of on a global scale, then anybody in Africa is underrepresented in the art community, and you know, so you might want to take advantage of this community and the support that they provide. So they're there to support the professional development of historically underrepresented minorities that use R, and they do that by sharing information, running webinars, providing support if you're interested in becoming an R studio instructor. And they're also active on social media and have a blog for you to follow. So you can go to their website to find out how to join their Slack group. Again, they have a Twitter account that you can follow. And there are many more online spaces. So I think, you know, those are the main ones that you should be aware of, but there are certainly others that you might find useful. There's another Slack group called the R for Data Science Online Learning Community. This was originally a community that got together to work through the R for Data Science book, which is a well-known book by a leading R developer called Tabby Wickham. And it provides really good training in some key R packages. But the community has sort of grown since then, and they've looked at other books, and they just provide a sort of general community of peers that learn and support each other in their learning. So it's a good place to ask questions on all sorts of topics as you're using R to get help. Others to be aware of are the R Studio community. So that's a forum that's providing help, particularly on packages and products that are produced by the R Studio company. So you may be familiar with the R Studio IDE, the integrated development environment for working with R, and that company leads the development of a lot of well-used R packages, such as what's known as the tidyverse. You may know of Discord. There's an R server on Discord, which is another place where you can get together and chat with other R users. Twitter is well used by people in the R community, so much so that there's a little book about it. This goes to an online book, and you should know that, you know, obviously the letter R isn't a very useful hashtag, so the hashtag for R is called hashtag #RStats. So that's how you can find tweets about R and discover interesting people to follow. And LinkedIn has sort of grown, I think, recently in use in the R community, particularly in Africa. I think a number of African R user groups sort of prefer to use LinkedIn to advertise their events and so on. So it's also worth looking on there. All right, and finally, I said I would come back to research software engineering. So you may not have come across this term before, but basically it's a relatively new field in terms of its name, but perhaps not in terms of its practice. And it basically covers anybody that's working to support the use of software in research. So this could be people that spend a lot of time developing scripts for analysis in research, or people that develop software that's used in research, or people that support the actual infrastructure, for example, high performance computing infrastructure that's used in research. So it's quite a range of skills under the umbrella of what's called research software engineering. And a group was set up a while ago, and it's recently sort of gained a new momentum. The Research Software and Systems Engineers of Africa. And that was set up to raise awareness of RSE in Africa, to organise events. So they have restarted their webinar series and to provide a forum for sharing skills and opportunities to try and grow this profession in Africa. And recently, the first research software engineering group was set up in South Africa. So this is sort of just beginning to sort of take off in Africa, as it has done in Europe and US over the past decade. So if you think, yeah, that sort of describes your work, but maybe you haven't heard of this name before, and then it could be a good group to follow and find out more. So that's about all I wanted to go through. Hopefully that's about the right time. So thanks for listening, and I wish you all the best with this group. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Heather, for this insight and very rich presentation. I believe that everyone really got so much, and we shared the link for the presentation. Thank you, everyone, for listening. You will get the presentation, and I'm sure that you will be able to follow up on the links and all this information that was shared. Please, we invite you to send us questions. You can drop your question on the chat box, and feel free to send us email if you have any follow-up question, or you think of something later that you might not have. And you might have noticed that there's quite a lot. It's not just, R is not just a language, but it's a community. And really, we want to be a part of this big community. There is so much opportunity, not just to grow as a programmer, but to grow your skills in areas of engineering, and just also presenting your work in platform like this to other people in globally, not just in Namibia. So thank you. And do we have any question on the chat? Okay. We will, if there is no question at the moment, we're going to move on to our next speaker. And as I mentioned earlier, that today we are just really getting a lot of information on different aspects, and how other colleagues have taken this journey. And the next speaker is from NairobiR. Actually, I would like to acknowledge that NairobiR and R-Ladies Nairobi are co-organizing this launch, or they assisted really a lot to organize this event. So we thank you, we thank them so much for this. This is why I said earlier, it's a community and it's a family. We work together. Christopher Mulonga is our next speaker. He is an R programmer, and he works at the University of Oxford in the UK. He is also a co-organizer of NairobiR and has great interest in teaching R programming. And with that, please let's join me to welcome Christopher on the virtual stage, where he will tell us more about NairobiR journey.
So thank you, Tuli, for the introduction. Yeah, I have some few slides to share. So let me just let me know if you're able to see my screen. Okay, my slides are visible.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you. So I'm Christopher Maronga, as Tuli has said, and yeah, I'm very excited that I'm taking part in this launch of NamibiaR. It's always good to have more entries into the community, and the more the entries, the better the learning and networking. So, so I'm going to take a few minutes to really talk to you about a similar group that started a few years back, NairobiR, and just share with you our journey, what we've accomplished so far, and what you think about the future, and if anyone in the attendee who is planning to do such a thing in the future could learn a thing or two. Okay, so just a brief history about NairobiR. So NairobiR is Nairobi-based R user group, and it was officially launched on the 15th of June 2019 at Hub, Kenya. So the main goal for NairobiR was to actually provide a forum for passionate new and existing R users to network and learn from each other. So, and how we really inspired to do this, because there was a need to develop and maintain a strong R user community and inspire future data scientists and experts in within Kenya. And our goal, our vessel, or rather our medium to how to achieve this was to organize regular meetups, which we normally invite individuals, researchers, experts, data scientists, statisticians that do teaching short trainings that are focusing on various topics using R. And with that, we've seen through a total of about 8 events with a very good attendance rate of about 35 individuals on average. And in the next few slides, I'm going to try to give, shine some light on how some of these events have been, and what kind of achievements that we have gotten from some of those. Okay, so before I could be able to introduce you to what we've done since the launch of NairobiR, which is, I think, the next in June 15th, we will turn 4 years, so we are very proud. So this is the team that comprise of the co-organizers. So Shelmith Kariuki, I know most of you might have seen her tweets on the RStats hashtag. So you have John Mustiso, who is also a co-host in this particular session today. Kigan Tembu is a senior data analyst, was not able to attend, or rather be with us in this session, and me. So how we met was a bit a funny story, and I'm sure it's an interesting, not a funny story, and interesting because people tweet, rather people use R in some setup, but they really don't know what other like-minded people in the same region that also do the same thing. So for instance, I've been using R for quite some time now, and I didn't know about the hashtag RStats then. That was back in 2019 or 2018. So then this is one of the, I would say the RStats hashtag was one of the things that linked us together. And I would say that's where NairobiR basically came up with, because we met on Twitter, DM'd each other, and we found out that we really had the same goal of growing the user base, or the base of our users in Kenya. And we decided to come up with NairobiR and try and see if we can drive the agenda forward, the 4 of us. So it's a very strong team, and we hope to accomplish more in the future. Okay, so as I said, we launched NairobiR on 15th of June 2019. So these are just some of our pictures from the first meetup, which was also a launch. So we launched the same day, and we had the meetup the same day. So, and we were hosted by AI Kenya, is a group of also tech guys in Kenya, and this particular building where we actually had the event is iHub. And so you can see we were really enthusiastic. We are very happy, and we had a few very nice t-shirts proclaiming actually what the revolution that we wanted to start, and how far you want to take it through. So, so the topic for the first meetup was basically introduction. We did introduction to data structures in R, and the 3 organizers were the actual speakers for that day, or trainers for that day. So we have also done a few physical meetups, and one of the major ones for the year 2020 was the R-Studio conference watch party. So we were honored to be part of the few local R user groups that were that hosted this particular did this particular watch party. So, and you can see on the top left and bottom left, these just a few pictures from the watch party that was around January 2019. And on top right, this is our second meetup, and the topic for this particular meetup, which was facilitated by Frida Wanjala, was on data wrangling, and it was a long session that had two parts, but basically just to see how that was going on. Then we had our meetup number 3, which is on the bottom right, and this was on introduction to statistical inference by Jane, and yeah, it really went well. And at this point in time, we were basically picking momentum, and we were inspired to continue doing more of these meetups on a regular basis. Okay, so COVID came in, and we were no longer be able to do physical meetups, and this brought a new, a new practice, or rather a new way of doing things. So we decided not to get distracted by that, and we had to try the new way of doing things virtually. So, and with this, we tried out a collaboration. So the first meetup we had virtually during the COVID pandemic was facilitated by John Mutiso, and it was about data visualization. So thereafter, we followed with the 2 more events that were in collaboration with R-Ladies Nairobi, and the biggest event was the Saturday Nairobi, that was a whole day of workshops that we invited various experts, international, local, to actually talk about or train, conduct workshops and give keynote talks for the entire day. And this really went well, and we were proud of ourselves, and it was like a turning point for what a collaborative group of people with the common goal can do. So this journey was not without a few of ups and downs. So we fought a few battles. And for instance, when we were starting, there was kind of tough to get a venue for physical meetup, because by then we hadn't really thought of the idea of doing a virtual meetup through Zoom or through any other medium. So, and this was quite a challenge for us. So how we managed to do this is we had to partner with a few individuals and organizations. For instance, I mentioned about AI Kenya. AI Kenya was quite instrumental for our initial startup for just sponsoring us the venue that we did our 2 meetups. And yeah, and a few like data science schools in Kenya. We have Ajua, we have Moringa School. They also actually help provide a venue too for our physical meetup. And so the other thing, as you can attest, that sometimes getting the word out, the easiest way, I have found, rather, the way I normally get to know in the existence of a meetup, a local R user meetup or something, is through the meetup account. So this wasn't within our reach, and it's not within our reach by until now. So the only way we could be able to spread the word out is by use of the Twitter and LinkedIn, and it really worked out for us. And I think we were able to reach quite a lot of people interested to attend our meetups, and it went really well. And I will say we were able to circumnavigate that and get to reach a lot of people to be able to come and learn with us. And yeah, so for the physical meetups, again, sometimes you will need to provide refreshment for your audience. And I'm not putting pressure on you to send us in the refreshments. No. Yeah, but sometimes we needed to do that, and we had to go out of pocket, use our money to just buy a snack or two, so that during the breaks, during the networking, after the meetup, so while people are discussing ideas, networking, you can have something to bite and something to drink. So, and that went really well for the physical meetups. And I will think, rather I will say that it was one of the things that after the long hours of coding, that's where people now relax, network, and try to create contacts within themselves. Okay, so currently we are in a health break. I mean, organizing meetups on a regular basis can really have a mental overload on you. So we are currently on a break, and we'll be back soon. But nonetheless, in this age of machine learning and a lot of automated data products, we really want to make the learning and integrating some of the various tools that are in the market as painless as possible, especially R. So, and that's our long-term plan. We want to network, we want to collaborate, and we want to learn more by expanding the contacts among our professionals and beginners who are attending these meetups that we normally organize. So we want to be the bridge to connect the beginners and the professionals in the field, so that the learning can continue and the collaboration can be even wider. Finally, I'll say thank you and congratulations to our Namibia. Welcome to the community, and you will enjoy the fruits that come with this kind of collaboration and meetups. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christopher. That was a very insightful and helpful presentation. I think just to listen to other people, how they started deciding all these aspects of frequencies, venues, challenges that we might find. But what's important is that what we learned from this talk also is that everyone from all level of proficiency of R can join, or even just being part of it, or maybe just contributing to the community in all type of capacity is what makes it a success. And I think we can, with all the attendancy that attended today, you already thinking, how can you participate, how can you contribute, and how can you be part of the family? So I hope that at the end of the day, when we send you a small short survey, you'll be able to provide us some of those information. But for now, please, if you have any question, we welcome them on the chat. And thank you again, Christopher, for that presentation. We will share the presentations with everyone that attended. That is, again, the beauty of this community and network, is sharing and collaboration is the key for this type of community. But let me not waste much more time. I am excited to invite you again to our second guest speaker, who is Njoki. She's going to talk to us about the journey of R-Ladies Nairobi. Njoki is a second-year student at Hasselt University, where she's pursuing a master's in statistics and data science and specializing in biostatistics. She's also the co-organizer of R-Ladies Nairobi, and also co-organizer of this launch event that we are attending today. Lucy is also a member of our Data Science Learning Community Book Club, that information. You might have seen something in Heather's presentation, so please go and check out. It's also quite exciting. Without wasting much of your time, please join me to welcome Njoki to the virtual stage.
Thank you so much, Tuli. I hope I'm audible enough for the introduction. Awesome. So let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. So for today's event, I'll speak about the journey that we have had as R-Ladies Nairobi. So first of all, let me congratulate NamibiaR for the launch of this chapter. It's quite exciting, like you've said. It's a community where you can learn so much and you can also gain a lot. So the organizers of R-Ladies Nairobi are as shown on the slides. So we have Shelmith. You see, Shelmith is a common factor for both chapters. And like Chris has said, she's a data analytics consultant. We have Margaret Onjiru, who is a risk analyst. Then we have Faith Musili, who is a senior data analyst, and I, who is a statistician. Okay, so our meeting was quite interesting, I might say also. Yeah, so Shelmith knew each of us separately, but then since all of us share the same goal and vision, we decided to come together and start the R-Ladies Nairobi. And so far, it has been quite a journey and an interesting one, learning so many things from even joining other chapters events and collaboration with other chapters as well. So the steps, in this slide, I'll just show you simple steps that you may follow in case one of us is interested in starting, let's say, R-Ladies Namibia. So first of all, there's the initial meetings and interaction of visual carriers. So these are people that you share the same goal. For example, the four of us, when we met, we realized that we share the same goal and we would want to start R-Ladies Nairobi. So we understand the reason as to why we started. And and that keeps us motivated to proceed. So the other thing, the next step is now we constitute an organizer unit, since we have come up to a conclusion that we have the same goal and we want to make a team in starting the R-Ladies chapter. So you do so, And then the next step is now it's contacting the R-Ladies Global, and we use the info.rladies.org email address. I forgot to add the links, but I will definitely add. But I'm sure you have seen from Dr. Heather's talk. And the next step is being recognized by R-Ladies Global. And here what I mean is you receive the details such as the code of conduct followed, the email address, a meetup page, and so on. And then the next step is now advertising on social media and just tell the community that we are here, we are R-Ladies Namibia, for example, or R-Ladies Nairobi, and we are starting a chapter. The next step is now you launch the chapter, can be virtually or in person. For example, like here we are virtually launching NamibiaR. So then the next step is, this is like a condition where you have to hold the first meetup within 6 months after launch. Well, this was when we were launching. I'm not sure if this condition has still changed or not. And then the next thing is now you continue developing contacts with other chapters and also as a chapter. So how did we start? The chapter was launched in August 2020. So this was our very first tweet that we made using the R-Ladies Nairobi account. We have, at the moment that I checked in the course of this week, we have 1,208 members, and out of those, about 850 are based in Kenya. So you can see that actually now this shows that we have a majority of Kenyan members in our society, but at the same time, it is a chapter that accommodates every member from all over the world. So the past events are shown on this slide. We are from the launch of R-Ladies Nairobi till the event that we had this month. So here you can see that we have had most female speakers as compared to, well, yes, female and minority group as compared to the male speakers. And as Dr. Heather has mentioned, R-Ladies, it's a global non-organization that promotes gender diversity in the R community. And we decided to have most speakers as either females or members from the minority groups. We have also had a collaboration with other chapters. So as Chris has mentioned, we had a collaboration with the NairobiR. Then we also had another collaboration with a couple of chapters located in Africa. And here, the title of the talk is as shown on the posters. So for example, here was in networks and graphs in R for biology. Okay, so for the Saturday R conference, which was a success, as Chris has mentioned, is we had two keynote speakers. And so the first one it was a talk about telling stories with data and communication in data science, and also how you can work on projects in R by Dr. Mael. And two talks such as one, we have our host here, who is John Motiso, and also a fellow co-organizer, Margaret Wanjiru, who talked about Tidy Tuesday. Tidy Tuesday is a great way of improving your R skills. And we had regular talks such as data visualization. So here, creating powerful data viz by Dr. Ilya, and so on. So if you want to view the recordings, please have a look at our GitHub account to have the slides and the learning materials. And then for the recordings, you can have a look at either NairobiR YouTube channel or R-Ladies Nairobi. And for our past events, some we uploaded on R-Ladies Global. I will share the links shortly. Okay, so to remember, this is some of the things that I urge you to remember. So this, I took them as pillars of success. So the first one was on teamwork and organization. What I mean here is, for example, we have a division of roles. We understand our strengths and our weaknesses. So we work with whatever the strength that you have, you bring it to the table. And I'll give an example of these very beautiful posters that you see here. They were created by Maggie, so our co-organizer here, her. Okay, and then communication is also very important. For example, if I'm unable to perform a particular task that I'm required to, I can easily communicate with my co-organizers and inform them. And here, it doesn't have to be, there are different platforms where you can communicate. There's WhatsApp, there's email, literally anything that helps you pass a message to your co-organizer. The third thing is seeking help when necessary. This is actually very important. Like the previous speakers have mentioned, our community is very friendly. So you can, even as an organizing team and you are stuck somewhere, you can easily seek help and you'll be assisted. And some of the things that through the organizing of R-Ladies Nairobi, we created friendship and also sisterhood. So like you can see in this picture, we had gone out for lunch. Yeah, and lastly is morale. Remember that this is it's a volunteer, it's purely volunteer. So, and there could be some challenges that you may go through, for example, being the burnout and having internet connection problems, because I believe that is like a common thing in Africa. So you can, it's always best to find something that gives you morale. For example, let me give an example of myself. I get the morale by the fact that we are helping the society and it's a charity-based thing. So at least the fact that someone else helped me understand R, we also want to be a platform where we help each other understand R and the network and so on. Okay, so our accomplishments so far. We submitted a talk called Building an R-Ladies Community during the COVID-19 pandemic, and it was actually selected for User R 2022 conference. So hence, as Dr. Heta has mentioned, please do join and come and hear us speak of the beautiful story of what the steps we did and the challenges we faced and the accomplishments you have done so as a chapter, and what are our future plans. And this is just showing, it's an illustration of like the tweet we made after receiving the good news. Yeah. Okay, the lessons we have learned along the way. So first of all is that the number of participants who have registered or joined a particular session should never demoralize you. If 10 participants have been able to join, please go ahead with the meetup, or please go ahead with the meetup and teach, train, or talk. And please don't be demoralized. That's the bottom line. The second thing is the organizer should always remember why they started. So this can always it will motivate you to move forward, despite, for example, if your work or studies, they make you quite feel things are quite tough. Just remember why you started, and I gave a reason that we do this for charity. The third thing and the last thing is, this is just a suggestion that not to overdo the meetups to avoid burnout. And I'll give an example. The past year we had meetups on a monthly basis, and I'd say that it really took a toll on us when we were almost at the very end of the year. And we realized that we can avoid to have monthly meetups, because despite the meetups, you also have work, and some of us are also in school. So we decided to have meetups in every 2 months instead of 1 month. And that has really helped us, because it gives us ample time to look for speakers, ample time to come up with like either a talk or a training that we'll be doing for the other month, yeah, and so on. And thank you so much for your attention and listening. If you have any questions or you want to speak or train us, please send us an email at Nairobi@R-Ladies.org. Then you can also connect with us in LinkedIn and Twitter, as shown using these shown usernames. Sorry, yeah. And lastly, you can join our Meetup page for you to be able to see our future trainings or talks and so on. Yes, that is what I had planned for us today. So thank you so much, and I can answer any question.
Thank you so much. See, that was very interesting, and really it's interesting how each group has it shows that we have to set up, our own kind of arrangement that works for local settings. So as you might have seen, we sent you a survey asking what would be the ideal times and so on. So from Lucy's talk, you could really learn and also understand how other people have organized, and how R-Ladies Nairobi managed to carry on. And really congratulations again also for your for the talk. We're looking forward to it. And please, everyone, we urge you to register for our user 2022 conference. We put the link there so you can check it later when we're done with the session. Thank you again, Lucy, for the presentation. And we will again share the information for those who want to get in touch, and please connect also with R-Ladies and Nairobi and check out the presentations and really interesting tutorials and talks that are on the website. If there's no question, is there any question? I don't think there's not at the moment on the chat. Okay, there's no question on the chat yet. So we will continue with our next speaker. Our next speaker is also really very active in the art community and bringing the community together. His name is Kevin O'Brien. He's a data scientist and he's based in West of Ireland. Kevin is going to, like I said earlier, he's very active in the data science community and bringing communities such as ours together. He is part of the R Foundation and R Forward Task Force that Dr. Tanner mentioned earlier. And he is going to talk to us a bit more on R and telling us about his favorite R packages and just really useful tips and hints that he learned in his journey with R. So let's welcome Kevin to the stage.
Hello, everybody. Thanks to all of the speakers. Thanks to all of you for joining us today. Thanks to all the other presenters. Just before I begin, actually, I would just like to say that I really agree with a lot of what the previous presenters have said. I'm just going to bring up my slides here first. There we go. So there we go. Sorry, it's I'll just try and make that a little bit bigger. View mode. Okay, I tell you what, I'm trying to make that a little bit, expand that out a bit. So just bear with me 1 second. I'll tell you, I'll just keep talking actually before while I do this. Something that is I really agree with is the idea of volunteering to do talks, essentially, because the important thing here is that you it helps you learn and expand how to be a good speaker. Sorry, I'm just going to try and get this open here. Okay, it doesn't work. I'll tell you what, if it's okay, I'll just go along with what we have there. It's not what I meant to do. Just a sort of little bit of background, I had to switch machines. So I have actually this talk ready on another machine, but just at the start, I had to switch machines. So I just have to live with this. So anyway, great to meet everybody in Namibia. I'm very interested in your country. I know it's a very beautiful country with the sand dunes and everything like that. It's a sort of, I was looking at pictures of it this morning. My name is Kevin O'Brien, and I am a forestry data scientist in the west of Ireland. Just as a sort of quick remark about that, forestry is a perfect companion, perfect complement to R. R is very useful for my work in statistical modeling, data analysis, data visualization, maps, and stuff like that. There's a lot of great tools that are first off for processing data and so on for forestry, but also doing sort of more sophisticated statistical analysis specifically for forestry. Heather mentioned earlier on CRAN or CRAN. That is the R package repository. And something that I actually quite often do is I will actually go looking through that repository. I think there's something like tens of thousands of R packages on that repository. And I will look for ones that are new, like related to all of the type of things that I would use. For example, just I mentioned some of them there that just will come to me right now. Yardstick, AUC, Test R. There's another one, Arsenal. That's one that's very interesting. What happens is I will actually look through some of these R packages and try and sort of find out what's very useful in them, just out of sort of a journey of exploration. This has helped me a lot in my career. I cannot emphasize that enough. And just to sort of emphasize something that the two previous speakers have said, that this is a sort of a great opportunity for all the participants to, really expand themselves as R programmers by volunteering to do talks, going and looking at these R packages and volunteering to do talks about, what they've learned. You don't have to be an expert on it, but it's just sometimes you will find very interesting things that are very simple, but just nobody knows about. And that really makes a great sort of our user meetup experience, okay? Curiosities, because quite often they're not useful until they're very, very useful. That's the thing, and that's something that I found. So R is very useful in forestry, statistical analysis, and so on, but the other R packages have been very useful. Particularly for what I do in my company, there are a couple of R packages that I'm going to talk about right now shortly. Just a little bit about me. My name is Kevin O'Brien, and again, I live in the west of Ireland. I live in a city called Limerick, mostly, and along the western seaboard, that is where a lot of the Irish forestry industry is located. Quite often, actually, a lot of people know me through things like NairobiR and stuff like that, because I'm in London quite a lot as well. So that's where I am. The Irish R community has been very strong. Again, we face a lot of the challenges that a lot of our other user groups have met, partly getting venues and stuff like that. And also, the change in how the R community has organized itself over the last couple of years with more of a transition online. But, things are sort of progressing back now that there's a good bit of energy across the R community coming back. So just actually, I mentioned there Limerick city. One thing that Limerick is very famous for is it is the birthplace of two brothers called the Collison brothers. Now they own a company called Stripe. That's an e-payments company. They're from Limerick. Now the company is essentially an American company, but they do have an office in Dublin, in the capital of Ireland. Now, there's something actually I was reading about this company, and I think it's very interesting. Somebody mentioned, why is this company so successful? Okay, and I read about it on this article that it is what they call a stoxygen company. And this is very interesting to think about when you're dealing with your careers. How necessary a company is to other companies and how invisible it is to consumers, okay? So, like oxygen, Stripe's payment software is crucial and invisible, but it's everywhere, okay? And this is a sort of very interesting lesson I've learned. It parallels a very interesting lesson I have learned with regard to my own career. So when a lot of people were starting out in the data science world, they would be very interested in very sophisticated topics like deep learning, Bayesian statistics, and so on. And, it's good to be very interested in a lot of these sort of futuristic concepts. But a little bit important thing to remember is that you want to get a job. And that's what I think about when I give a lot about, I like to talk to young people, because as I was introduced as, I used to be a statistics and mathematics lecturer in a university. So I would be dealing quite a lot with people in the early parts of their career who are going for their first job interview and what they should learn about and what they should emphasize and get ready for their interview. So, and this is a piece of information I would always give them. And actually, luckily, it parallels what we have here. There are a lot of very interesting and cool things that a company will have to deal with, a manager will have to deal with. But also, there's a lot of things that the manager does not like dealing with, but they have to. And that is something that they're also very interested in when they are hiring people. If you can get rid of a lot of tedious, unnecessary work or something like that, that is also very good. Find ways to automate your processes, make life easier, boost productivity, okay? And because this is something a manager will have to think about. And it's just a good way to think about, a good thing to think about when you are planning your career, okay? So that's why I'm going to emphasize certain things in this talk, certain topics. So again, when your career strategy, sorry, let's say career strategy, think about boring, tedious jobs that can be automated and processes that can be made more efficient. So this is in contrast to the positive, hype, glamorous things that, you know, people will talk about when in the tech community. So as we have a job, we call this the dark side. Think about the things that nobody wants to do, everybody would like to see less of. Is there a way of removing this workload? Can you free up 3 hours a day? And that's something a manager will be very interested in. Now, you know, it's not exactly the most glamorous thing to do, but, you know, I'm very much happy to get every data scientist across the world paid and in gainful employment and making money. So this is a good thing to think about in that respect. So we call this the dark side, the less interesting jobs, but they're very important. And so how does this relate to me? Well, I work for a forestry company, and there is a lot of statistical analysis involved in forestry. First off, planning where the trees are, so that's geographical information systems. There is also growth modeling and yield modeling. Now, those are sort of how much essentially trying to figure out how much each plot of land is worth over the course of a period of years. Each plot of plantation, as we call it, a plantation of forestry. Now, but there's also a lot of regulation. Now, it's parallels the food industry where there's a lot of regulation because it's part of the food chain. Forestry is tangential to the food chain because it affects things like water quality. And also there are other things like habitat and natural heritage, wildlife, okay? So you have to sort of monitor about what is going on with how your forestry interacts with the, you know, natural environment. So there are actually lots of documents that we would have to work with. And something that you will find when you were working with government agencies is that they almost systematically prefer Word documents and PDFs that are generated from Word documents. So, and you will, if you ever work with government agencies, you will find out there is a lot of Word documents, so many Word documents and so many PDFs. So much. Something that actually happened before we started this process is that we would get government documents, legal documents, and they would be returned back to us in PDF format. And what would happen is that people would actually have to type them out, copy them out individually, okay? Now you can copy and paste them out, but also you have to make sure that the copy and paste works properly. So you will actually have to inspect the document. And that's very time consuming, very, very time consuming. So just some R packages that are what we found to be very useful. One actually, I'll just to sort of highlight now, this is from the R OpenSci community of R developers. And they make it that's very interesting what they do. You know, all of the tools they make a valuable contribution to the R community. Some of you as R developers may sort of be taking part in the R OpenSci community in the future, just joining in with their work. That would be great. An R package that I would use quite a lot would be PDF Tools, okay? Now, PDF Tools is an R package that does a lot of things, but essentially it helps you interact with PDF documents, okay? So something that this will do for me particularly is it will allow me to extract text from documents and turn it into a plain text document, okay? So if I have a folder with, let's say, 5,000 documents, PDF documents, what I can do is systematically make a copy of each of those PDF documents and make a text file document that works in parallel to it. because that text document is easier for me to work with. It's easier for me to clean. It's easier for me to check what's in it. It's a sort of an abstraction of what's in the PDF document. If I want to search for terms, I can systematically go through all of these documents and find out which document will contain a certain phrase that we need to know about. For example, if there is a particular species of wildlife, where, in the documents, which documents will contain that particular mention of that particular species. Now, so imagine trying to do that by reading 5,000 documents, and in case you make a mistake. So this will automate the process. It will automate the process and allow extra time for quality control, because you still need the human interaction. But that does provide a lot of value to my company, and they're very appreciative of it. So this is one that I found has been very useful, PDF tools. Now, this is just a couple of things that PDF tools will do. So essentially, I think this is the main thing I would use: PDF text. Okay, that would just extract the text from the document and turn it into a text file. Just as a quick remark, something that helps with working with government documents is quite often they are very structured and regimented, so that they're very predictable in their format, which makes it easier to work with. There are other things there as well. I think that you can take apart pages and so on and read. If there's a particular page that has a map, you're able to extract that map, and to turn it into a graphic. So when I have my PDF document, or my PDF document turned into text, what I can do then is I will turn it into a series of text files. And something that we would do is check for spelling mistakes, just reformat it a bit, and so on. Now, a very useful R package for me is string R, okay? So this will allow me to tidy up, format, make corrections to the text, remove stuff I don't want, search through the text and just get out the key details for me. And this is very useful. Sorry, I'm not sure if you can read that there, but I'll just sort of mention it. Strings are not glamorous, high-profile components of R, but they do play a big role in many data cleaning and preparation tasks. The string R package provides a cohesive set of functions designed to make working with strings as easy as possible. And if you're not familiar with strings, the best place to start with is a chapter on strings in the R for Data Science, the book. So again, that's just actually sort of a remark about a couple of things there. I think one of the previous speakers mentioned that R for Data Science is a great resource for the community. So, as a career young R programmer, data scientist, that is a really good resource for helping you develop these skills. Just something that to go along with that is learning about regular expressions. Now, I'm not an expert in regular expressions, but I have developed a good skill set that helps me a lot with working with regular expressions with R. Just as a quick remark, there was recently the Botswana R-Ladies R user group, R-Ladies Gaborone, had R regular expressions with R that talk about that. I believe that was in collaboration with R-Ladies Cologne, and I believe it's on YouTube somewhere, so you should be able to find it. So, there is a lot of great work being done there, and great resources provided to you by your own community. Okay, so I applaud them. So, just actually another one that I would use a lot for creating documents. This is the second part of my job. I don't want to go too much into processing documents because we don't really have enough time. But a second part of my job will be systematically creating documents, okay, that we would send to the government. So something that I would use a lot is the officer verse set of R packages, two in particular. Now, these are developed by a a French R developer called David Goel, and those are his websites there, rdata.fr and davidgoel.github.io. And he is the creator of Officer and FlexTable and Office Down. Now, Officer and FlexTable are packages I now use every day, and they do provide a lot of value to the work I do, okay? So quick talk about what the Officer R package is about. That is automated generation of Word documents with R. So there's actually, it actually also works with PowerPoint, but I don't really work with PowerPoint. I have to create R documents. And so when I am, let's say, for example, I am working with a spreadsheet, because I do work in the government, I work tangential or in proximity to the government, and the government works in spreadsheets, and that's not going to change anytime soon, is that I will be able to use tidyverse and all of those R packages to help me extract all of the information, format it, and create it in ways that is, can be presented as a little report on each part of the country. So the Officer R package will allow me to create a little report on each of the plantations that we have, just a little map, a table of information, just some, information about plantation. And this can be given to foresters, just printed up, given to foresters. So when they go see it, they have a little report in their laptop things or the little tablets, and they can just sort of, when they're inspecting it, they have a little report that says exactly what the spreadsheets, our files say, and what the government files say. And when they go to the site, they can just check it. And now there are other ways of doing it, but I think, again, everywhere Word documents are how people like to work. So this is a very useful R package. Now, I'll just give you a quick example of some code there. So I will create a Word document, and just to create the document from scratch, let's say to create it from nothing, read docx, and without an argument, that means just creates a new file. And essentially I can add text, I can add a paragraph, which here is just some text. I can format the text to have headers, bold, font size, change the font, and so on. It allows me to do a lot of that. I can also add in a table. Here the table is called a flex table, FT, which I'll talk about shortly, and then so on. This is very like the tidy format of creating of programming. Okay, so this, if you're familiar with tidyverse, you can really get the hang of this very quickly. Just as a quick remark, though, you must have Microsoft Office in your laptop beforehand. Okay. You can also format the text and add images, and it doesn't sound very glamorous, but believe me, this is very useful stuff. And what I'm going to do in the summer is train everyone in my company how to use this R package. So to complement the Officer, there's another R package called FlexTable. Now, a FlexTable can be used for a lot of applications. It can be used in Markdown, okay, or Markdown documents. Now, I will use it specifically in the context of as a companion to working with Officer. So when I create a Microsoft Word document, it will this will allow me to add in formatted tables, okay, so that I can create a very well presented, professional looking document that can be given to my colleagues when they go to locations around Ireland. Okay, there's a lot you can do with this. I invite you to learn about this yourselves. I don't really want to talk about it too much, but I'll invite you to learn about it yourselves. So what we have here is all of the functionality that this will allow. There's so much there because if you look at Word documents, there's a lot to work with. Now, I just mentioned some other R packages there. Tidyverse obviously is very useful. An R package that people talk about on Twitter that mentioned it to be always consistently useful is janitor. And again, that's one I really like as well. There's one actually called Scales that I use quite a lot. Now, Scales, I believe, is created specifically for graphics, but there's a lot of additional functionality in Scales that I use, for example, turning numbers into percentages. You know, lots of small little tools on this that people will, you know, functions that people will find very useful. So I think that's my talk, but actually it's a sort of just to sort of remark upon what my predecessor, the two speakers before me said, that a community will thrive if people will volunteer to learn about new R packages, you know, go and explore all of the possibilities that are in CRAN and find very useful things. They don't have to be sophisticated, but they will be very useful and people will want to know about them. And I invite all of the speakers who, or all of the participants to sort of, you know, take up that challenge, go and look at what is on CRAN and then sort of find things that they find are very interesting. Even like, you know, descriptive statistics packages, that there's some of them that actually have surprisingly useful things in those packages that really can help you, you know, add value to your company. So, and then you can learn about them, create a little presentation about them, and then, you know, present for part of your community. And, you know, this will help things, help the R community expand massively. So just actually a quick question there. I think it was AUC test R. Actually, I'll just come up with a little list there. I'm not sure if I can bring it up. Some of the useful R packages, flashlight, model metrics, and VIM, yardstick. So I'll just add them into the notes actually. But yeah, okay, I will add a few of them into the notes about what these other useful R packages are. But I think really, again, I'll go back to this challenge to everyone, is that you will go to the CRAN, the Comprehensive R Archive Network, and look at what's in those packages and really explore that, because I think that is like the road to being, you know, a great R programmer. That's actually how I didn't know about these R packages that I've just talked about until recently. And because I was under pressure, so to speak, to help see, we knew what the problems were in my company, and to sort of explore what R can give us that would help us solve those problems. So I didn't know about these packages beforehand. I had to go looking for them, exploring for them, and it was a great success. Big success, big success. And I think that, you know, have that spirit of exploration is, you know, vital. So, you know, for, you know, everybody wins. You will win. You know, if you do talks, the community wins, you know, and science wins. Okay, so I think I'll leave it there. Okay, so I'll end that presentation now. I'll just stop the share. Do I use any particular tools and sites to search CRAN packages? Now, this is actually interesting. I use Twitter a lot. Twitter has been great at people talking about their work. We mentioned that at the start, RStats, the hashtag RStats package. I also keep an eye on what's going on with our meetups, because people will give talks and, you know, what's new, what's interesting, this is also another one. What has been around a while, but people don't appreciate. That's a very interesting one. I am also a statistician, so I would look a lot at a lot of the statistical R packages. For example, Easy Stats, you know, so easystats.github.io. There's some very good statistical R packages there, like performance and so on. But also I would actually just go into CRAN the CRAN list. There's 12,000 things there, and I will just like Google word or search for words and just see what I find. And, you know, that's part of the fun. So that's it.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Kevin. That was very, it was very interesting, and I learned a lot as well. I learned new packages today, so I hope everyone also picked up something, and I also used I learned janitor early a few months ago when I was working on a project where we needed to clean some text, and also string R. We're using it actually at the moment because what we're doing, so I work for Statistic Office, this is for our audience. And so we get data from different ministries that sometimes is very dirty, and we need to clean the text. So like now, one of the program I was taking him, he has not done data science, he's just a programmer, but he's learning these techniques bit by bit. And what he's doing now is cleaning locality, is like districts, the names of areas, locations. And so we get this from another ministry, main ministry, and they have gotten this data when people are registering something. So you can imagine how much misspelling is in that text. So it's not a drop down, it's I'm writing myself, it's a text field. So he's taking that text field and matching it to the NSA clean locality, and find that the list that has identified the misspelled one and correct them automatically. So these are things, and bit by bit he's learning. I'm introducing him to this language of natural processing language and techniques, and also making sure that we're not overwhelmed by the new concept. So it's very interesting that like what Kevin said, you need to explore the packages and try it. It's by trying that you really learn. And I'm also every day, I just when I get a challenge at the office, then I just try to explore what else is there, especially when you join the communities of other R groups. You might even, in a lot of YouTube videos, we will share some more additional information via email or through our social platform. But the truth is, you will find a lot of talks already that might have something similar to what you have, what you're experiencing. So we encourage you to explore and don't be scared to, if you have not tried R yet, don't be scared to just download and try it. In the following sessions, we will have a tutorial on how to set up your R environment. So those are some of the beginning sessions, getting you, for beginners, getting you set up your environment and do basic analysis. And as the previous speaker said, and don't shy away from coming forward to present your work. So I hope that we could be doing that as we go forward and encourage each other to learn and really, but I don't want to go on too much. I want to really thank the speakers and the audience that stand by until the end of the session. Opa will give a closing remark, but I really thank you for your time and attending this session. I'm excited, and I'm excited for you, the audience in Namibia, for your interest. And I think we're going to learn a lot with through these sessions, and we encourage each other and grow the community in Namibia. I mean, we are already a small country, but I know that we can grow the community and attract other people that might have not managed to attend the session today. So I'm going to give the stage to Opa. I just want to she's going to give us a bit more information. But I also want to acknowledge her that she's one of the co-organizers of NamibiaR. So we thank her as well very much for her effort and time. Ope is a lecturer, is a professor at the University of Namibia, and she will just give us a little bit also information. So Ope, I welcome you to the virtual stage.
Thank you, Ms. Tuli. There isn't really much for me to say in addition to the wonderfully delivered presentation, insightful and information about the NamibiaR community, as well as the other country communities. Now that we've all seen the scope and idea and intentions, as well as the 411 of what this community will, particularly the NamibiaR one, would accomplish, or is planning to accomplish and intending to accomplish, it's our general hope that and wish that this community will grow into an association and eventually a recognized NGO for our users in Namibia, be it beginners, advanced, professional users for their R-related queries and networking, and possibly work or project opportunities that involves R. And also we also aim to sort of become a training workshop source or tools for public and private industries and organization who wants to train their staff on R programming and data analysis using R in Namibia, and hopefully in a bigger picture like in SADC and all the rest, and international. That being said, I would like to take this special opportunity to thank our keynote speaker, Dr. Heather Turner, and our invited speakers, Mr. Christopher Maronga, Ms. Njoki Njuki, and Mr. Kelvin O'Brien. Thank you so very much for your time and insightful presentation, as well as your constant non-stop support in the successful launch of our own version of our community, aka the NamibiaR user initiative today. And also a special thanks goes to Ms. Tuli, the mastermind behind this NamR community, for organizing and making this initiative a reality in Namibia. And for our host, our co-host, Mr. John Mutsuso, sorry for pronouncing it wrongly, we thank you for that. To our participants, we can't leave you out. Present today, I would especially thank you for making this launch a reality by giving us your time and attendance, especially on a weekend, on a Saturday. And it's winter over here, and we tend to sleep a lot on Saturdays. So we thank you for your time. This is just a beginning of an awesome time together and experience. And any upcoming events organized by the NamibiaR community during the duration of this year, and there'll be a lot of them as we go along, we will communicate in due time via for now, tentatively, via the R-User Gmail. I think some of you might have seen the Gmail. I think it's called rdusernam@gmail.com. And because our official webpage, as well as website, we are still, and blogs and social media platform for this community, particularly the Namibian version, sorry, the Namibian sector, is still being developed. I don't think it's ready yet for now, at this time of the presentation. So any communication will be done via the R-User Nam Gmail tentatively. And it might be useful to mention that there are still voluntary admin position still open within this community. If you want to join us, be it you want to be our social media handlers, we welcome you. If you want to be our instructors, we welcome you. Even if you're an expert beginner, we don't discriminate. You are all welcome. It's a community. We don't discriminate. Welcome people inside. And we also want some out trainers as well, just in case like there's some successful maybe organization who request for training and workshop, and the numbers are so large because they fell in love with R. So sometimes we would need some R instructors and trainers. Even if you're a beginner, we will still buff you up to train you and assist as well, thereby improving your own knowledge on how to do R and even gaining more knowledge on your R journey. I think for now, there's nothing else for me to say because it has already been said. And I actually like the fact that they gave us a different version of the R community, especially in Kenya and all over the world. So hopefully very soon, give us maybe 2 months from now, our own NamibiaR will also be listed among the official list of R communities all over the world. I thank you all for your time. And I leave the floor to our mastermind, Ms. Tuli. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ope, for that closing remark. Yeah, I think we have reached the end of the session. I don't see any more questions on the chat. No, we don't have any questions at the moment, but please to connect. Maybe just a few communication or message. You can connect with us on Facebook and on Twitter as well. And please, can you take a minute to fill in the form? It's on the chat. It's a Google form. It's just to ask you a few questions to get an idea on how we can proceed. And with that, thank you so much again for our keynote speaker and our guest speakers, and especially NairobiR and R-Lady Nairobi for organizing this event with Namibia. So thank you so much, the audience, for participant, for your time again. So we'll see you again next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Do we want to take, maybe we can take a screenshot. I'm not too sure if I'll be able to, but I will stop the recording